A ton of anticipation as to what America can expect from this next Congress. And we are waiting. My next guest is about to start her fourth term. Florida Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Democratic National Committee Vice Chair and the House Chief Deputy Whip. How you doing? And good morning to you from
Bill.
Washington, D.C. I guess these days are filled with thoughts of new beginnings. I mean, do you sense
definitely.
that?
In a matter of speaking, it depends on your perspective, I guess.
Right,
but
and your perspective is now the newfound minority party. You know,
yes.
I want to show you a number that I think a lot of people are in tune with now more so than ever, okay? In 2010, U.S. government spending grew by $4.3 billion a day. Our debt rose from $12.3 trillion about a year ago to $13.9 trillion today. Now, is that acceptable?
Well, that's absolutely why we're going to measure the Republicans' proposals by the following yardstick: whether it creates jobs, whether it reduces the deficit, and whether it enhances the middle class. And you know, right out of the gate, sadly, they're going to pursue fruitlessly the repeal of health care reform, which actually will explode the deficit by $143 billion in the first 10 years and $1 trillion over the second 10. So we're going to be watching for the Republicans' actions rather than listening to the words that they're saying.
Their argument is that the health care reform will bankrupt the country even more so.
Well, not if you look at CBO's analysis. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office specifically has verified that the health care reform law gives us $143 billion in deficit reduction over the first 10 years. And aside from it being pointless to pursue something that's not going to happen, what we're going to do here is, instead of focusing on job creation, instead of focusing on deficit reduction and turning the economy around, we're going to spend thousands of hours of staff time, of member time, of floor time, trying to nick the health care reform legislation to death. And it's not going to happen. And every minute that we waste on the Republicans' obsession with repealing health care reform is a minute that we are not spending on turning the economy around and creating jobs. They would argue that was the commitment
they gave to the voters, and that's the reason why we saw the results back in November.
But they ran, Bill, remember, they ran on, we need jobs. It's about jobs, and that's what we acknowledge. If that's the common ground, and we can work together on things that will create jobs instead of their focus on the Tea Party's obsession with repealing health care reform, then we'll be able to work together, and we're looking forward to that.
You know all too well the level of disdain the American people have developed for how Congress has governed over the past, not just 2 years, but past several years. What Speaker Boehner will say later today, in part, is this, quote, "A great deal of scar tissue has built up on both sides of the aisle. We cannot ignore that, nor should we." That scar tissue that has led to what most people believe has been absolute gridlock, that has only further hurt the country and not helped it. Now, in the minority party now, how are you, as part of Democratic leadership, how are you willing to work with Republicans now to make this government better so that the American people benefit? Because clearly that's what they're asking for, whether it's
Absolutely.
Republican, Democratic, Tea Party, or Independent, that they want change. And if you listen to these freshman incoming Republicans, you may have heard the clip in the last hour that we played that Frank Luntz did last night. They are absolutely committed to making sure that their grandchildren are no longer saddled with this massive debt. Now how do we save them?
What we need to focus on, absolutely, is that we all were sent here by our constituents as Americans first, and we need to make a commitment to working together. I am hopeful that the Republicans are going to be willing to do that. I've spent more years in my career, in my 18-year career as a legislator, in the minority than I did in the majority, and I've found ways to be effective by building relationships across the aisle with individual members and working on issues that are important to my constituents and to the country. And I'm looking forward to that opportunity again. But again, overall, our priorities are to create jobs and turn the economy around and cut the deficit.
But why wasn't that your priority 2 years ago? Why was it always health
with all
care,
due respect,
health care?
Come on, Bill. Come on, Bill. If you look at our success, no. If you look at our success over the last 2 years, we have had the most historic success of any Congress since the early 20th century. Not only did we pass Well, in fact, we created over 1 million jobs in the private sector just in the last year alone. That's more jobs in 1 year than were created in the entire Bush presidency. We went from bleeding 750,000 jobs a month before President Obama took office to adding about 100,000 jobs on average a month.
Your critics would argue that those priorities were delayed.
They absolutely were not delayed. We were very focused, and we're willing to work with the Republicans on continuing the economic recovery. Our hope is that they're not going to strangle the recovery in the crib.
We are watching, and thank you for your time. Debbie Wasserman Schultz out of Florida.